Joining me now is Democratic Representative Karen Bass of California. All right, Congresswoman. So the last thing that you just heard from Joe Manchin, who's arguably, I mean, he is quite a red state conservative Democrat. Trump won his state by 43%. But you heard him say a lot of people don't know, they really still don't know how they got health care called Obamacare, but they're sure going to know who got rid of it for them. What is the Democrats' plan to let those people know if Republicans get rid of their health care, who done it?
Well, you know, I think, first of all, a lot of people think that Obamacare just covered people that didn't have insurance. There's a whole lot of parts to the plan that cover everybody, such as pre-existing conditions, our health care caps. You know, I used to work in the emergency room in Los Angeles, and the people that come to the emergency room, or who came during those years, were people who, one, had caps. In other words, I was on chemotherapy for 2 months. My insurance company said I had hit my limit. They won't cover my chemo anymore. Or somebody who had diabetes or hypertension, and they couldn't get health insurance. So they come to the emergency room as a last resort. So if they get rid of Obamacare, those people will be back flooding emergency rooms. And that's one thing that has happened since ACA has been in place. You see the decline of people who've used the emergency room. Another thing is for prevention care. So you go and you have your colonoscopy. Well, you didn't realize that with Obamacare, you now no longer pay for that colonoscopy. So if they get rid of Obamacare, you are going to have people complaining all over the place that, one, they don't have coverage anymore. They've been cut off. They've been kicked off. And two, costs are going up because they're paying for things they didn't cover when they had Obamacare.
Yeah,
people will realize the difference.
Yeah, imagine people going into their doctor's offices and suddenly finding out they have a copay they didn't have. Are Democrats then going to make the connection? Because, Congressman, I got to tell you, one of the biggest criticisms of the party, even of the president, has been that when Obamacare was rolled out, Democrats kind of walked away from it. Some of them ran away from it, but never really explained to people what Obamacare is. A lot of people have, let's say, had Connect in Kentucky and didn't know that it was Obamacare. Are the Democrats going to do something concrete, meaning run ads, meaning have specific stories showing so that people know, no, when you're getting that copay, that was Obamacare?
Exactly. That's absolutely right, and I agree with you. The other thing that I don't think that we pointed out is that Obamacare has been a jobs plan. So when you talk about cutting off Obamacare, you are talking about serious layoffs that are going to happen in hospitals because rural hospitals have had to depend on it, and a lot of these hospitals are in Republican states. And so I think the pain is going to be very wide and very deep, and it is going to be our responsibility to make it very, very specific. I can tell you that my phones in the Capitol and in my district office were flooded today with people calling up and saying, well, is my insurance going to be cut off now? Am I going to have to pay for this? Well, you know, I've had cancer. You know, the only way I've been able to get health care is because of Obamacare. So when the faucet is shut off, I believe the pain is going to be deep, it's going to be wide, and it is our responsibility to make sure that everybody understands who is responsible.
Yeah, it's pretty pointed that the 3 states you guys are starting off are Pennsylvania, Ohio, and one West Virginia. Think about those coal miners' benefits for their black lung. That's Obamacare. All right, I want to ask you a quick question on the way out. Mitch McConnell had a pretty interesting, take a quick U-turn for a moment. Mitch McConnell had a little pretty interesting quote today that I want to play for you, and it's about another thing that Republicans have been holding up, and that's a Supreme Court seat, which they held open for a very long time because they didn't think Barack Obama, as president, had the right to make a nomination. Take a listen to Mitch McConnell talking about Democrats potentially holding up a Supreme Court nominee of Donald Trump's.
Apparently there's yet a new standard now, which is to not confirm a Supreme Court nominee at all. I think that's something the American people simply will not tolerate.
I mean, I can't believe that he actually even said that. when he was the one that said that they were not going to even have hearings, confirmation hearings. Well, you know what? I'm very proud of the Senate. I hope they hold that line. The idea that Trump, I mean, if his cabinet is any example as to who he would put forward would be on the Supreme Court, it would be disastrous. And I can see that protections that we've had in our country for decades being rolled back. So I think it's a great stand. We need to emulate what the Republicans did in 2016.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with Obamacare. I just wanted to give you a chance to hear him say that and get your response.
Thank you.
Congresswoman Karen Bass, thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it. All right, joining me now is Democratic strategist